Okay, so you're on board with eating healthy, becoming a more healthy version of yourself. You want to be living in sync with God's created order for who you are. But where exactly do you start? I'm going to walk you step by step, baby steps through the process next. Hey, what's up? I'm Eddie. Glad you're with me. Hey, if you've already been on the journey of trying to get healthy, you've read the blogs, maybe a couple books, seen a few documentaries, and you just want to know where to start, how to begin a God-honoring relationship with food, with wellness, with exercise, then these are the steps for you. I'm going to give you 8 very small baby steps that by the end of the 8 baby steps, you will be exactly where you need to be with your diet and with your wellness. Hey, and by the way, I have my quick start guide to health. It's 13 pages getting you jump started with a full food list so you know exactly what to eat and what not to eat. So make sure you pick that up as well. Link is in the description. So without further ado, here's number 1. The very first thing you should commit to doing out of everything after you've got your mindset right is to do this: eliminate sugar. Just eliminate sugar out of your diet. You see, sugar today is very inflammatory. Inflammation, as I've said, is one of the most common precursors to all of Western modern disease, all of chronic diseases: heart attack, stroke, hypertension, diabetes, Alzheimer's, early onset dementia. So you basically want to limit chronic inflammation. While acute inflammation is good for you in terms of getting injured and blood rushing to the area to heal you, chronic inflammation is a whole nother deal. Sugar intake is going to spike your blood insulin, it's going to raise your blood glucose, and you are going to be on a blood glucose roller coaster all day. So not only is your mood going to be off, not only are you going to be chronically inflamed, but you're also going to be raising your blood sugar, which means you are putting yourself in harm's way for things like diabetes. Now, listen, not a lot of people think they're going to have diabetes, but you know that 60 million people in America are walking around pre-diabetic and don't know about it. That is a lot of people. So this is a problem, and that might be you. Baby step number 2, replace the sugar calories you've been eating out of your sodas and out of different desserts, and replace them with high quality fats. Now, these high quality fats are saturated fats like avocado, coconut oil, things like grass-fed butter, the fat off of grass-fed animals, pasture-raised eggs, not organic eggs, not omega-3 induced eggs or infused eggs rather, none of those things, not cage-free brown eggs, but pasture-raised eggs. Get high-quality fats in there in the form of saturated fat, increase your omega-3s, so things like wild-caught fish are really good. Wild-caught fish oil or krill oil, also really good. And then also some CLA is also a really good option for you as well. So increase with these different forms of fat. Healthy fats to replace the sugar that you were intaking. Okay, so after you've gone a few days of no sugar, after you've gone a few days of replacing that sugar with high quality fat, then it's time to take the next step. And the next step is switching off of all industrial meats and industrial eggs and moving to grass-fed and wild-caught. So grass-fed beef and lamb and wild-caught fish. Okay, so you want to make the switch. Now, I'm gonna preach quality over quantity. Now, I know if you drive to McDonald's or Burger King and you pull up into the drive-thru, they're gonna show you a number underneath your entree. It's gonna say 400 calories, 600 calories, 200 calories, and you're gonna say, that sounds good to me. I did a calculator online, and that calculator told me I can eat 1,800, 2,000, 2,500, whatever it is, calories. And so this fits in that number. Now, human beings are not robots. All calories are not created equal. And so if we want to be God honoring with our diet, we want to eat things as close to the way God made them, because God made food to be good, right? That's what the Bible teaches us in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. So that means we don't want our food sitting in labs prior. It means we don't want synthetic food. It means we want natural food, grass-fed, organic foods. And so we want to eat beef, we want to eat lamb, we want to eat pastured pork, we want to eat pasture-raised eggs, we want to eat pastured chickens. That's what we want to eat. Wild-caught fish, of course, and that is where we want to stay. Okay, at this point, your sugar cravings should be gone. You should be feeling much more full with eating good, high-quality saturated fat, and you also probably feel a lot better eating high-quality meat, and you're not getting the antibiotic dosage every day from your industrial animals. So now it's time to move to the next step. And this one's a big one, because it requires you removing gluten from your diet. I've gone through the dangers of gluten in so many different videos, but I will just cover it here briefly. Understand that the gluten you ate now is not the same gluten that Jesus ate when he was walking the earth, okay? So today's grain is much different. It is processed, it is modified for convenience and for the almighty dollar. They often call it dwarf wheat because dwarf wheat grows a third of the size as regular wheat. And so those amber waves of grain that you hear about in the Star Spangled Banner, those amber waves of grain are non-existent today in the United States in large quantities. We have dwarf grain because it's easy to transport and it's much more easy to taste. It is more fluffy when you make it. And by the way, after they grow that grain, that dwarf grain, they're going to go ahead and bleach it and add all sorts of different enrichments back to it because they have to remove all the zinc and the magnesium out of it during the processing, and then they add it back in. But sometimes when they add it back in, you can't digest it, yada, 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 yada. The point is the government, Monsanto, all of the different big food companies have gotten their hands into the creating of grain, and it's resulted in a lot of things like people being unable to digest it, like rises of celiac disease and food intolerance. So remove gluten from your diet for now. This was the toughest for me, but it is a necessary step, and that's to remove all processed and industrial dairy from your diet. Dairy has high amounts of fat in it. Fat from industrial animals hold toxins. The toxin, including your fat, actually, the fat on your body holds all of the toxins, both environmental and what you ingest. And so when you burn fat, sometimes if you burn fat too fast, you can actually get a little bit sick because you're processing all of the toxins from your fat. When you eat the fat off of a fattened, GMO eating, industrial raised, poorly raised, sick animal, you are ingesting what essentially is the most worst part of that animal, which is the fat. So you're gonna have to remove the dairy. That includes things like cheese, that includes things like the yogurt, and then includes things like gallons of milk. By the way, Arnold Schwarzenegger said milk is for babies. I agree with him. I don't think we should be eating or drinking rather something that baby calves use to get bigger. Okay, that's a bad idea. So anyway, remove dairy, that's your next step. The next step might be the most difficult for some people because people love stuff in bags and in boxes at the grocery store, and that's to covenant to remove all synthetic foods, all Frankenfoods from your diet. Now, what is a Frankenfood? Well, you know the story of Frankenstein. The guy goes into the lab and he creates a human being, and he rises and he starts walking around, you know, with the big bolts out of his neck. He creates a monster, right? That's the story. Frankenfoods are essentially when scientists go into labs to try to save companies money and increase taste and induce cravings, and they come out with some sort of Ritz cracker or Oreo or Lay's potato chip. Bet you can't eat just one. And they have this product for you and that you buy constantly and constantly and constantly. Well, those foods are terrible for you. Oftentimes they're fried in different rancid oils like soybean oil or canola oil. And again, they're genetically modified to get you to eat more of them. So you want to avoid these at all costs. And again, they're inducing inflammation. They're increasing exposure to things like mold and bad ingredients. So you really just don't want to eat any of them if you can help it. By the way, in terms of being biblical, we want to eat things as close to the way God made it as possible. And now this is just your baby steps. Why would you eat a purple donut or think about like a Twinkie, a bright yellow stick that doesn't go bad? God did not make that. That's not what you want. So take all Frankenfoods out of your diet. Okay, at this point, you've got quite a really good regiment going. If you've taken all these steps up to this point, these 6 steps, you're actually feeling pretty good. Now let's take it to the next level. I want you to limit your junk meals, anything that violates the list we just laid out, to 1 or 2 meals a month. Okay, 1 or 2 meals a month. So you're going out to dinner with your friends and everyone's ordering food and you really don't want to cheat, so you decide to get a little something on the side and you eat some of the fries, or you eat a cheeseburger from an industrial animal, or you drink a soda or whatever it is. We want to limit those meals to 2 a month. That's the best we can do for you. That means once every 2 weeks, you're having something, that's not healthy for you. Now understand this, you're gonna feel really, really, really good if you do steps 1 through 6. You're gonna feel amazing. But when you start doing number 7 again and you have that first bad meal, have it. And by all accounts, try to enjoy the pizza or the tacos. But understand this, you are going to feel really terrible after eating that. You're gonna feel horrible. Why? Because your body is used to processing premium fuel. And when you dump junk fuel back into it, your body's gonna not know what to do with it. So expect bloating, fatigue, headaches, heartburn, or anything like that. All right, and the last tip for you, all of those were diet related. Let's add this one on top of it. Now, we haven't said anything about exercise. That's probably for another video. So let's assume you're exercising somewhat. But what I want you to add on top of your diet tips and your exercise is something called non-exercise physical activity, or NEPA. We want you to walk 2 miles a day, rain or shine. Now, 2 miles may sound like a lot to you, I understand, but it's actually not that much. You see, Jesus actually walked close to 21,000 miles in his life. That's some, of course we can't possibly know exactly how many, but that's some estimates of some theologians. That's a lot of miles, and so 2 miles a day for us isn't too bad. That's a trip around your neighborhood a couple times. Maybe you walk to the grocery store, you walk to the bus stop, or you drop your kids off at school walking them. You make sure you get 2 full miles in. Now this is going to give you a little extra calorie burn throughout the day. It's also going to improve your mental fitness, and it's going to just keep your overall calorie expenditure up as you go. So by the way, if you skip this one, you're going to see, if you're trying to lose weight or something like that and you add this on, you're going to see there's a little bit more fuel to the fire. So don't skip this step. Hey, I'm excited for you. You've taken the right steps to get going in the right direction. You've begun the process of health. You've begun the process of living the way God has created you to be. Hey, if this video is helpful for you, would you just give me a thumbs up, like this video, subscribe to this channel? I want to get more information about biblically based wellness principles out to everybody. I hope to see you on the next one.